Hey there, it's Ryan with I'mMinnesotaNice.com. Today, day 60 of 365. I'm down here at Pepin Heights apple orchards. This is Lake Pepin. You can see that. Look at this. This is gorgeous. Right on the Mississippi. You can see Lake City down here. We're looking at, this is all the sweet tango trees right here. These are the sweet tangos that are in the stores now. We're going to learn a little bit more about this place, and let's go check it out.
And what you see over there is what we do with orchards these days. We tighten the spacing on the trees.
Okay.
All the trees are supported with a vertical wire or post.
Yeah.
And then, like vineyards, they have trellis wires to continue to keep stability on the trees.
Yeah, that's what we were saying.
Yeah, that's where it looks like a vineyard. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, it's almost like. So how do you get like that much fruit off? I mean, they're amazing. I mean, that's so much.
The progress in viticulture and horticulture and agriculture has really come a long way. So the old trees used to be planted on seedling rootstock, and
Sure.
they would get 40 feet tall, and they'd live for 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as the tree grew big, you got a lot of fruit on the inside that never captured any sunlight.
Sure.
And sunlight is what we get for free in the farming business.
Right.
So the more efficient you are at capturing sunlight, the better production qualities and values you'll have.
Right.
The fruit will taste better, or the
Yeah.
beans will taste better, or the tomatoes will
Got
taste
it.
better.
Yeah.
So what they've done over the past 20 years is intensely develop what we call dwarfing rootstocks. And so these rootstocks don't have a big root system like the old varieties
Sure.
used to have. They're only so big, so they need support, both vertically and horizontally, otherwise they tip over.
Mm-hmm.
But what it does allow you to do, this orchard, believe it or not, is 11, 12 years old over here. And that is, we'll come in and clip the trees up top to keep the height down, but that is a mature tree. So the way we get production is by planting more of them per acre,
Right.
because they're smaller, yet they still have very efficient sunlight capturing capabilities, because the branches, the horizontal branches, aren't 50
Sure.
feet
Yeah.
long.
And the yield is just as good. I mean, you have.
Well, look at all of them on just that little tree.
Yeah. The yield is very good,
Yeah.
and your yield per acre is probably better with saleable fruit.
Right.
anyhow.
Yeah. Good, delicious,
So
tasty.
you have less cullage, and
Yeah.
you get better coloration, and we still buy with our eyes in the grocery stores. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
you know, bright
Yeah.
color is something we really try
Just
to achieve. So
Yeah.
this particular plot is one of our test blocks.
Okay.
So this is not a commercial orchard here. This is where we test selections from around the world. We've got selections in here from New Zealand, from France, from Belgium, from Washington State University, from the University of Minnesota, from Cornell, and different breeding programs to just see if we try to stay one step ahead and see what might be next on the radar screen
Sure,
for
yeah.
producing a new, great, differentiated fruit.
Well, and then I mean, when you're doing it that way, you can kind of get ahead of the game. You know how the fruit is going to grow. You know how things are going to work. On that end too. So then, by the time they do come to market, you can be kind of ahead of it.
In theory, that's what we try to do. This is, without four walls and a roof, this is the closest thing we've got to a lab.
Right. Yeah.
You
For
know.
sure. Yeah.
So there's a lot of selections in here that aren't going to go anywhere, but we sort of the fruit breeding business is sort of like throw as much stuff against the wall as you possibly can and see what sticks. Right?
Sure. Right.
And David Bedford, the fruit breeder at the University of Minnesota, says if he gets one really good selection out of 10,000, he's pretty pleased.
Sure.
That's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah.
These are, by the way, it's a crab apple, but don't be fooled. These are some of the best eating little pieces of fruit. Help yourself. In the world.
The freshest apple you'll ever get, huh?
They have a real rich, nutty flavor to them. I just love
Well, that's
them.
the best crab apple ever.
People expect them to be astringent and
Yeah.
and sort of tannic, but these have got just dynamic eating qualities. So not only do they provide a source of pollen, but we get to eat some really fun fruit.
So do you only eat these, not those?
I eat those too, but being in the apple business, we grow big fruit because that's what retailers want.
Mm-hmm.
It's too big for me. I like
Just grab it.
Couple
Go.
of
This is perfect.
This is freshly harvested Honeycrisp, right, Danielle?
Right.
And
How you doing?
Pretty good.
you'll notice on these, that the stem is below the shoulders of the fruit. That's because this fruit has very thin skin, and the stem is like a 10-penny nail. So you get stem pokes in if you don't cut the stems. So each of the guys has a little clipper, and we hand pick the fruit and clip the stem off so that it's below the shoulder, so that we don't ruin fruit by putting stem pokes in it.
So every one of these apples is actually pulled off the tree by hand.
Every one of them.
Oh my god.
Right?
Think about that next time you go to the grocery store and you pick up an apple. That thing has been taken off the tree.
Yep.
By somebody.
Yep. I mentioned again about capturing sunlight. We want this space filled in so that when we get the sun moving from that direction to that direction, this bearing surface on here captures as much sunlight as possible.
Sure.
These trees are nominally 4, maybe 5 feet apart, 4.5. Down at the end, we're not going to go down there, but we tightened them up to 3.5 feet. So we have a tree here and a tree here,
right?
You know, to get them a little bit more efficient.
Yeah.
But you need to get both altitude and horizontality, because you have good bearing surface up there and sun capture. And the standard rule of thumb is you can grow the tree as tall as you have distance between the tree row to tree row.
Sure. Shadow.
Right.
Yep. Makes sense.
So that's just a standard rule of thumb. I have business partners in New York who plant their trees about 2,200 trees to the acre. So their trees are 18 inches apart.
Wow.
And they only grow them 10 feet tall because their rows are only
really
10
tight.
feet apart.
Sure.
But they like that production system. It works well with their methodology, and
right.
They've got the horticulture on staff to do that kind of labor-intensive stuff.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So the tighter you get the trees packed in, you have, especially in the first 3 years, you have to be really, 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 really on top of your game horticulturally to get that tree off to the right start.
Sure.
Because if you don't get it off to the right start in the first 3 years, you're living with problems for the rest of the life cycle of the planting. Yeah, so all this offensive stainless steel really is, this is rubber ducky races.
Sure.
It's putting the apples in down there, submersing the bin. Apples float, unlike pears, which don't. They'll float up, and then we have a current here. And essentially we're just trying to get the apples out of the bin and to the first inspection station, where we do a gross overview and take obviously broad blood through them.
So right behind there, there's the trucks. The trucks are coming in, dropping the bins of apples off. We just float them right away, and then these.
No, they go into the cooler first.
Okay.
To take the field heat out of them.
Oh, all right.
So if you want to see a picture of bins in a cooler, we can do that. It's not very glamorous.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, but we keep that cooler at about 38 degrees just to take the field heat out of them. Typically they'll be in there for 2, 3, 4 days before we run them across the packing line. So the second box you've got here is our Awida color sorter, and each apple that goes through there is rotated 360 degrees with a flat nap color
generator or whatever.
Generated.
Yep.
And the way we run the computer program, and we tell it which of the lanes that apple gets to drop on as it moves down the
what parameters that apple has, the characteristics,
exactly,
and
the
then
size, the color, etc. And it carries a digital identity all the way through to the end of the line.
So each apple has its own identity, like from the skin tone to the size and the shape and everything.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, there you have it. Pepin Heights Apple Orchards down in Lake City. Come down, check it out. They have a whole retail store. You just saw, we're up on the bluffs up here. You can see all that stuff. It's just amazing views up there. It's so cool. So hope you learned a little bit. I'm Ryan with I'mMinnesotanice.com. If you like this video, make sure that you click that thumbs up, share it with other people. You know, just going around and seeing some cool stuff. So come down here, Lake City. It's a beautiful drive on 61, right along the river. Awesome stuff. So Pepin Heights apples, that's all I gotta say. Showing the best of Minnesota.